Alrighty, Sid. Hope you're doing well, bud. Hope you're having a good night. Just kind of wanted to get you on this video just to kind of compare your swing to Bryce Harper's on the bottom here, just to kind of show you a couple of things that we were working on in our last lesson and just the importances of what we're working on and why we're working on them. So I'm going to play your video and his video back to back just so you could see them, and then we're going to talk about it. So one thing that we talked about in our first lesson was this unnecessary movement. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily it's unnecessary because it's a comfort level, but more so of the result that we're getting. And here's what I mean by that. Take a look at when we get to this movement where we kind of do this bat waggle and then we get into this and then we already are throwing ourselves, right? So what we talked about in our lesson was trying to simplify your swing, right? Because what's happening a lot is that we're trying to kind of coil up like this. And because we're throwing ourselves in this position here, in order for us to uncoil, what we have to do is do it on the back end, right? For it to all balance itself out. So before you even get to the ball, watch your hips and your shoulders. Before you even make contact, right? You do a really good job of keeping your eye on the baseball, which is awesome, and keeping your eye behind the baseball. But a couple things real quick. If we were to take a look at your barrel, right? What we notice is your barrel's late on the baseball, okay? And that's what kind of goes back onto whenever we go back to here of why we want to connect our elbow, right? We talk about connection to extension. Watch Bryce Harper's elbow right here. So he connects it into his rib cage, and then you're going to notice that from there he extends out to the baseball, okay? So that's why we do that. Because what it's allowing us to do is to get here, and then from there, it's allowing us to get our bat on time and go towards the baseball, right? So that's a big thing too, right? One thing that I really, really like about your swing, Sid, is that you have really, really good hips for your age, right? Which I think we can utilize. But the big, big thing about your swing is that before you even get to the ball, it's throwing itself out to the left side, right? Which causes you to lose a lot of power on any pitch that's not inside, right? And allowing you to get great contact on it, right? So if you take a look at Harper's swing, right, you're going to take a look. If I were to draw an arrow to where he's pointed, in this video, he's pointed towards right center field, right? And that's where we want to keep our hips and our shoulders because that's going to help us keep on time, right? Additionally, one thing I want to talk about, just kind of separating yourself here, right? We talked about your upper half, right, of why we want to take your swing, because if you notice here, your bat gets up here and then immediately starts to drop, right? So, and obviously what we talked about in our lesson was this back elbow here, right? If we take a look, this elbow works through our swing, which causes our hands to get there before the bat, which causes the bat to be off time, okay? Additionally, take a look at Harper real quick, right? Because, and the reason I like how you and Harper swing is you both get a very, very similar position right here, right? The reason that Harper's able to stay on time, number one, a strong core, right? That helps him to stay on time, and that's why it's really important for pitchers and hitters to do that. And as whenever we get into pitching, we'll kind of talk about that as well. But for him as well, it's all about direction, right? It's all about being directional, and it starts with his lower half here, right? If you take a look at his leg kick, right, he's getting coiled, but he's not throwing himself back to the point like this, where then what he has to do is open wide open, right? It's kind of like a can opener, if you will, okay? Instead, what he's able to do is he's able to get a really, really short but powerful leg kick towards home plate. If you take a look at this this front foot, right? So it starts closed, but then it opens up, and before we even swing, this foot's coming off the ground, right? Both feet are actually coming off the ground, which is causing you to come over yourself, right, on this left side. Okay, and it's causing you to open left because there's nothing that's keeping you on the ground here, right? So what I really want to see, and this is kind of what we talked about in the lesson, is being more explosive in our back hip, right? If you take a look at Harper's back hip real quick, this is what I mean. What he does is he utilizes this back hip really, really well to get more power and to be more explosive throughout his swing, right? So that's what we're kind of looking for in terms of this, right? And you're going to notice we have a very, very tall, if I were to draw a line real quick, a very, very tall letter A versus what I want is almost kind of like an evened up letter A like this, right? To where also my weight is in the center of my body rather than it's towards the front side for you, okay? So those are a couple things in your swing that I just kind of wanted to touch base on and talk about why we're doing them, and also talk about what are the things that we're going to continue to work on to help you to keep towards right center field. Because once we get your direction corrected, Sid, I think this is going to really, really help you. And what I encourage you to do on your off time, when you're just working on tee work, whenever you're just working just by yourself or just in your room, just taking some dry hacks, is all about working on keeping yourself directional, right? One thing that you could do is put yourself like your back to a wall and just also, working on keeping you towards right center field, right? You're going to feel, especially if you do it like if you're against a wall or a door, you're going to be able to feel yourself if you were to come open, right, rather than staying towards right center field through your swing. So those are a couple things just to work on between now and next lesson, but really good job. Really excited to keep working with you whenever we get the chance, and keep working hard, man.